Hi, I'm showing the AI Explorer tool where artists and designers can ideate. So here we are in the workspace. We have other things like where you can set the model you're using, whether it's like a basic model like it is now, or in fact a trained model that we train on. And there's some other features. You can start a new project, so you could have several projects going that all keep their local data, so if several people are using it. I just made a project called Snow, so I'll go in with that project. Um, and we have a setup, so if I go to the generate area, um, and then I have the journey area. So the journey area shows my journey um, throughout. So this is the very first thing I did, and I could kind of look through that work. Um, and then at some point I kept going uh, to a space. Let's see where I ended up with um, something a little bit more that way. But then I was able to change that. So I decided this was too far. So I'm able to go backwards and look at work that I have done. And these sometimes, if I click on it, are kind of big spaces. In fact, you can see that I have a 4x4 here. So I have, this is like just thinking through the space. So I'm using these two parameters, CFG and denoise, to get a sense of a rather big space. So it starts with this source image. So this is all image to image. And then based on the text, which in this case is beautiful scenery, orange blossom snow, and even some negative stuff about make sure it's not blurry and things like that. And then I can set some parameters here. So within here, then I can pick any one of these to keep moving. So this is the going quite wide, looking widely through a journey, and then picking which ones I want. So if I go back to my journey, I see that I've done this. Anywhere through this, I can go backwards and forwards and label things. So from grid span, I went back because I just didn't like creeks and where I ended up in the logs. I went to lake view, so I can just click on that map. And by the way, I could see this map at different sizes where I'm seeing the work. And more so, I could label things. So as I make it, I can give these label names like Lakeview and Creeks and Grid. So I can remember and even use this with clients down the road if I need to. Again, so in Lakeview, I can see what I've made. So this is obviously more lakes. Now I could go here, which drops me back into generate. And I either could be in that grid mode, which I was, or in this batch mode, so I can move between. A batch is just going to make, in this case, four slightly random versions, to get some variation. Grid is different. Grid is where I have a 3x3, a 4x4, or 5x5, where I'm trying to get a larger sense of how things change through the parameter space. But in this case, I'm in grid mode. I've saved it as Lakeview, which you can see the name here. I could look at any of these images larger. I could switch where they move into here by hitting this button. I could bring up their data, or I could actually add them to my favorites are saved. So now that one is in saved. So the idea is to, with this map and how I move through and how I'm able to look and save, that it really lowers the cognitive load a lot in terms of remembering what I did. So anyway, going back to my journey here, I could keep going. Now, if I really like this particular image, I might decide that I'm not going to use the one I started with, that I could drag this in here and continue that way. And then I could start ideating off of that. So if I go back to Journey, you can see this lake view ended up being a cabin. And doing so, I obviously picked that cabin image from the lake view. And then eventually I kind of went kind of deep into this tundra and did that look. However, just to do some things live, I went back to Lakeview and decided here to change what I was doing. So what I did is I switched the prompt to abstract wall painting. I'm staying in batch mode, so I'm not doing a full grid. I'm just getting 4, but you can see I can change all this. So I have something very thinking, because I now was thinking of some kind of wall hanging piece. So I could move through and look at these more. So I could save them in here. So now they're in my saved group, and I can move through things that way, or I could just keep going. So what I did do next in my journey is so I called this wall texture choice 1, thinking, oh, the client might like that one, but maybe I'll continue on. So I got these now, and then I continued on again to get a few more. So maybe I'll do one of these live. So this is my most recent one. I could do, so what I did do is I moved my favorite one over to here, so I'm more in this space. So I'm going to just change this. So I made it more kind of vibrant, and I'm going to say abstract wall hanging with, let's see, large gemstones and wood bark framing. Now, because it's something completely different, I should probably make a nice big grid and have a lot of choices. But for speed now, just because I'm doing this live on my home computer, I'll just try and get, maybe I'll just get 2. So I'm going to generate. And now it's actually running. Again, we could use a much faster, so I have a different kind of look where I definitely have these rocks and gemstones, kind of like this one. So I'm going to not, I could, if I need to name this, I would maybe just say gemstones now, wall. And hit the save button. So that's good. And I'm going to do something a little bit destructive, which is I'm going to take this one, and if I hit this button, I'm going to drag it into here. So that means I'm going from here. So I'm just going to call this wall hanging with large natural wood bordering. So wall hanging with large natural wood bordering. And I'll kind of run that again with my 2 on. I'm not fully playing with the other parameters, which will get me closer. Let's just see what this gets me. Yeah, so I've gotten kind of almost too far. So I might actually push these back a little bit and run that again. Yeah, so I'm now getting something a lot closer to these. So I want to go a little bit more out. Oops. Generate again. Again, I could make a grid and understand what numbers to use and just go that way, but I'm just doing this kind of faster way. So I'm getting more and more of kind of the direction that I want. And all these get kind of saved for me, and I just keep moving through the space. So I could journey through things, I could generate things. I have all my tools. There you go, I got a little bit more. I kind of really like this one now. So I can kind of keep moving on that. In fact, I'm going to put this one in and move these even a little bit higher and try this one more time. So quite quick if I'm only making 2. If I'm making more, it takes a little bit longer. Although we have the ability to put this on the cloud where we can get much faster speeds. So, so very different kind of wall hanging look. I might call this a different name. and save that. And as I go back to my journey, we can see that I've really been going down this lane. If I didn't like it, I could go back to this one and fork it. Maybe I'll just do that right now. So I'll go to generate and with this. So I have to do that correctly. Go to my journey again. Click on this one. Click here, and that moves me to this generate. And I'm going to actually move this. I'm going to drag this in. Well, I could do it this way. And I can continue on with this. So maybe I'll do that. And I'll just put in the word wood again. I'm going to say white wood. And click generate. I might have these parameters a little bit high. Oh, that's kind of nice. And I'll just show you from my journey, so I could name this, and then if I go back to my journey, you can see I've just done a fork. So I can go back and forth anywhere through here. I could decide either by saving them in different kinds of ways or setting them to favorites. I could download the image. I could put them in my favorites directory. And again, obviously you saw that I can kind of put them in my save, so that just got saved as well. And all this sits separately. All these images are named and ready to go. And this is just one project of many that people can do.